Growing orchids is becoming more popular as people begin to enjoy the true beauty of the various types of orchid flowers. Unfortunately, many people have the misperception that orchids are difficult to grow. Actually, most orchids are easy to grow if you follow a few simple steps. In this video, we'll give you some helpful tips and show you just how easy orchids really are to grow. First, we'll make sure you're growing orchids in the correct temperature and lighting conditions. Orchids come from tropical climates and typically like warmer temperatures. The ideal growing temperatures for most orchids are between 60 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid exposing your orchids to freezing temperatures. Most orchids prefer bright, indirect sunlight. Avoid placing orchids while they'll be in the direct sun. Ideal locations include covered patios, well-lit rooms, bright bathrooms, which are typically high in humidity, and windowsills. A southern-facing window will usually provide the bright light orchids like, just not in the direct sunlight. Most orchids will perform well inside the home with the proper amount of light and the correct temperature. Next, let's review how to best feed your orchids. Plants require food for energy, just like we do. Feeding your orchids regularly with a good quality orchid plant food is essential to maintaining healthy plant growth. Plant foods, which you dissolve in water, called water-soluble, work very well for feeding orchids. A plant food like Better-Gro Orchid Plus is ideal to use throughout the year to help maintain and promote plant growth. Use it weekly when watering your orchids. We'll demonstrate how to feed and water your orchids next. Plants require water to keep them hydrated. When watering your orchid, whether with a watering can, hose, or under the kitchen faucet, apply enough water carefully and directly to the pot until water runs through the bottom of the pot. You don't want your orchid's roots to sit in standing water. For orchids which are planted in a decorative container without a drain hole, pour off any excess water in the pot after each watering. When watering, it's best to do so early in the morning so that the leaves have enough time to dry before nightfall. Wet leaves at night could help to promote disease. Overwatering is often the most common mistake when caring for orchids. Typically, orchids need to be watered every 7 to 14 days, but this will vary depending upon the temperature and humidity where you're growing your orchid. As a general rule, let the potting media your orchids are planted in get fairly dry before watering. To check how dry the potting media is, simply stick your finger down inside the pot to feel for moisture. You should never just check the surface, as that dries out the quickest. Although caring for orchids could be a bit different than other household plants, it's easier than what most people think. The key is to provide it the proper amount of light, watering, and feeding for them to thrive.